I found that some groups within the Masonic Order published names of their higher-ranking members, a practice that seemed unusual today. Today, Freemasonry is notorious for their secretive practices and lack of public membership listing. Surprisingly, this was not the case in the 1930s. Santi Davidson, the Prophet's first music minister, was a ranking member of the Independent Order of Odd Fellows. According to newspapers, Santi Davidson led the devotional services at the Billy Branham Pentecostal Tabernacle. In the Prophet's accounts of his early church, he mentioned temporarily using the Masonic Hall for services. Santi was likely involved with opening the Masonic doors to the Pentecostal church as it transitioned from Roy E. Davis to the Prophet. He was a skilled painter, so it was not surprising that he also painted the signs that hung in the early church. Santi was deeply involved with the Independent Order of Odd Fellows Masonic Order and featured in photographs published in the Louisville Courier-Journal describing members of rank. In 1925, Santi Davidson's photo was featured as rank of guardsman or bodyguard. Having a rank of bodyguard would imply that he had been involved with the secret meetings for some time and trusted enough to keep others out. According to the Jeffersonville and New Albany, Indiana newspapers, Santi had been participating in the Odd Fellows activities since as early as 1902. At that time, Santi was listed as an officer in the Tabor Lodge. Santi was deeply involved with more than one fraternal organization. He was also a deputy grand chancellor of the Knights of Pythias. In 1915, Santi was president of the Order of the Owls. This group helped fund orphans and widows. Though a member of the Jeffersonville Lodge and participating in the Prophets, and likely Roy E. Davis's Jeffersonville Church, Santi lived in Salem, Indiana. His role as choir master did not begin with the Billy Branham Pentecostal Tabernacle. In 1901, he was appointed choir master of the Wall Street Sunday School. His painting of signs did not begin with the Bible verses on church beams. Santi had a business as a painter and was part of the Masonic Painting Union. In 1909, Santi attempted to focus solely upon painting, which apparently was a dangerous trade. At one point, Santi poisoned his eye in an accident and lost a middle finger. In the evenings, Santi managed the Etzer Opera House. The Opera House provided vaudeville entertainment to southern Indiana and attracted visitors from all around the country. Santi was also involved with band concerts and directed the band accompaniment for local events. He was a writer who published humorous, thought-provoking articles in the local newspapers. His The 10 Commandments was aimed at local business owners, which would have been humorous to many. He also wrote poetry to encourage those out of work and articles to focus on the family. Santi operated the Snowdrip, a restaurant with sandwiches and cold drinks. He was a shrewd businessman, wheeling and dealing to make his establishments become the exclusive local attraction. And he cornered more markets than just vaudeville and motion picture. Within just a few years, he grew the Opera House large enough to attract big shows. Some of the shows, such as Fine Feathers, were so entertaining that they ran 156 nights in New York and 6 months in Chicago. In 1930, shortly before the time Roy E. Davis was the music minister for Ralph Rader, and before Davis took a large part of Rader's congregation, the Odd Fellows attended Ralph Rader's tent revival. Santi Davidson led the singing. The Pentecostal Baptist Tabernacle and Roy Davis were there. The Prophet said that he was Davis's assistant pastor in 1930, so it is quite possible that this could have been the first time Santi Davidson met the Prophet, and it could have been the moment in time that connected the two. It was the first published account of a cooperative effort between Santi Davidson, Roy E. Davis, and according to the timeline established by research linking the two men, the Prophet. The Union of Fraternal Organizations and Christianity were not well received in the community. Reverend Ralph Rader was forced to hold his meetings at the Knights of Pythias Armory, and it's safe to assume that Santi Davidson was involved simply due to his rank. Local ministers saw the non-denominational strategy as a threat because Rader, Davis, and others were using that platform to grow their new churches. In the case of Roy E. Davis and Ralph Rader, they were growing their churches by persuading members from other congregations to leave their home church. 2 days after Roy E. Davis was arrested for violation of the Mann Act, arrested at the ongoing church revival in Jeffersonville, a resolution to prevent this practice was passed. I began to think about the unusual circumstances during the revival meetings that connected these men. Santi Davidson would have met Reverend Roy Davis for the first time, met the prophet, who was Davis's assistant pastor at the time, and witnessed federal agents taking Davis away for underage sex with a minor from another state. After Roy Davis's Pentecostal church was burned and the Davis brothers left town in 1934, leaders of Roy Davis's Pentecostal church, George DeArc and others, became elders in Branham's Pentecostal Tabernacle. Yet with all of this going on, Santi Davidson joined Branham as his choir master. His first publicized appearance in the Billy Branham Pentecostal Tabernacle was October 2, 1935. It was not advertised on 8th and Penn Streets, however. Santi's participation in Branham's church in 1935 was at the 8th and Graham Street Tabernacle, 2.5 blocks away from the Branham Tabernacle that exists today.